What's up? Welcome to another episode of Challenged. I mentioned to Mike before we went online, I've been in the middle of a move. This is like this temporary setup. And I said, we couldn't get our bed base up the stairs. So they have come in and they've cut it apart and they are now reconstructing it in the room next to me. I said halfway through the recording, it's going to start. And as we hit record, you can hear that annoying drill bit in the back. So I'm going to try and edit that out in post with like noise reduction. It's probably not going to work. So I apologize in advance for giving you a giant headache, but this is my life right now and you should all suffer with me. Mike, I'm sorry.
That's a hell of a pitch to watch the podcast. First 5 seconds. This is my life and you should all suffer with me. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think that leads us into Challenger Katowice because someone's going to suffer this week and I'm really curious about which teams it's going to be.
They've released the groups, and I have to say, it's my favorite question on the desk, but normally it's like so throwaway as like which group is more stacked. This is finally like, it's pretty obvious to me, I think, that Group A is going to be a tough one. Not from a level of team performance, but from a pressure on the teams from the outside to get out of the group stages. I feel like there is a lot of pressure on 3 of these teams to kind of do something, which is going to make it pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, understandably, he's going to have massive pressure on you when you've got to take down Captain Kirka. It's just a huge task ahead of them. So I don't know how any of them are going to do it.
He's being... Kirka. I love it. He's being a little bit facetious about B8 or Bates. I don't even know how you say it because they're the one team that I didn't pay enough attention to. Mainly because the only thing I am paying attention to leading up into this particular event is the fact that we get to see S1mple, the GOAT of CSGO, return. And his little foray into CS2 was not a great one. Not a great one at all, but he's coming back with Falcons, and this is the debut. This is the team that is, it's the start of what is supposed to be this super team next year with Nico and whatever else. How do you feel about this? I mean, what are your thoughts on S1mple returning?
I'm very excited to see where he's at. I think it's cool in a weird way that he's doing it in every CS player's second home of Katowice, Poland. Obviously, it's not for IEM Katowice, but it is still like, you don't understand how many cumulative days players have spent in this hotel in Katowice, Poland, assuming we're in the usual one. So I think it's going to be kind of nostalgic in a weird way almost for him. I'm really curious to just to talk to him and find out where he's at, right? Because, I mean, taking the break, taking this much time off, he had that 1 month where he was technically contracted to Falcons, but he played 1 BO3 and then they got knocked. So it was a very expensive BO3. I'm so curious. I have no clue. I from the point of a Counter-Strike fan, I hope that he's geared up and ready to go. I hope that he's, found whatever he was looking for in the time off. He's feeling refreshed and renewed and eager to dive back into the game, that the game's in a state that he's happy about, that he's going to be able to hammer the competition. That's what I hope. That's what I hope's going to happen. I really don't know. I do not know until we talk to him. I also don't know what's going on with Falcons and him specifically, right? Because he's not signed to the team. He's on loan for 3 months. He's on loan through the end of the year. So is the plan to then use him in that future roster where Nico's supposed to be joining? Is the plan to keep him on that? How are he and Nico going to mesh if they're in a roster? I have so many questions. And I'm looking forward to all of the players and Zonic dodging them artfully every time I ask them. But yeah, I mean, fundamentally, the one thing that matters is what does S1mple look like? Because even if he's not going to stay on this team, if S1mple's back to being S1mple, the whole world's better for it.
So here's the thing. This is the money conversation that needs to happen. My understanding, obviously, he's been benched at Na'Vi, but he is still under contract at Na'Vi. And to sell someone like S1mple comes with a very big price tag, because even if S1mple isn't playing, there is a marketing benefit to having a player like that in your roster, which means he costs a lot of money. He's not playing at Na'Vi, but he is going to cost a lot of money. And my understanding is the only team that could probably actually afford this guy at this point is Falcons. So he kind of has to make this work if he wants to play. I suppose he's also wealthy enough that he could probably just buy himself out if he really wanted to. But he's got to kind of do something impressive in this lineup. But like you mentioned, he's been in this team before and it didn't go very well. And then afterwards, he released a video basically blaming the IGL for everything when it was blatantly obvious that like s1mple was the problem. I apologize again for the hammering, but we're hammering home the point here that this is like, I think it's make or break for s1mple, but also it's starting to get to the point where it's a little bit make or break for Falcons, because they're desperately trying to throw something against the wall to make it stick.
You've also got this situation as well if you're the other players on this roster, right? s1mple just got benched. Obviously, that wasn't working out, despite him being one of their higher statistical rated players. We all saw it on the eye test, right? There'd be some maps where he was good. There'd be some maps where he looked completely out of it, and it was just very hard to place your finger. Like, this team is mystifying because it's just very hard to place your finger on what's wrong. It's clear when it is wrong, but it feels like it's different pieces being wrong in so many different moments that it is such a hard diagnostic thing to figure out from the outside. And I think, just from seeing them and talking to them at events, I think it's hard to figure out from the inside. I'm not sure they know exactly why nothing is clicking. But I imagine it's been wildly frustrating for them. And so, you've got this situation where, if we're talking about the way Falcons is structured, they've got a mythical money bag where it seems like they're pretty eager to spend, or at least not shy about spending. They may give official interviews where they're like, we function like any other esports team. We need to make it make sense economically, blah, 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 blah. But then they spend $1 million on a month of s1mple. So the actions speak louder than words in that situation. But what I will say is, if you're a team where you're spending an enormous amount of money on what you thought was going to be a tier 1 or a tier 1 team, where you've had that success in pretty much every other esport, where you came in with a massive bag, bought the most expensive team, and won things, and it's not working in CS, and you're going, why isn't it working on CS? What are you going to do? You're going to go make the biggest splash. And right now, Falcons was a stagnant pond where just nothing seemed to be thriving. So how do you shake up a stagnant pond? You take the biggest damn rock you can, and you throw it right in the center. And you know who's the biggest damn rock in Counter-Strike? That's s1mple. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I do know he's going to shake that thing up. They are throwing that rock right in the middle of the pond. It's going to ripple. Some will survive. Some may not. And I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be exciting.
What you don't know is in the middle of that big rock, it was actually camouflaging a giant grenade, because s1mple is a grenade, and it's going to go one of two ways. Either he's going to go off and all the fish will be dead and floating to the top, or he'll lay stagnant at the bottom and we'll never know. But that's the thing that's so exciting about watching s1mple, because there is so much. It's not just about how he plays. If he jumps in there and he's phenomenal, great. Maybe he jumps in and is shit. But what a lot of people don't realize, or maybe you do if you're a fan, is if you watch s1mple, his personality does great things. I have watched him chew out Alexi B in a very public setting, and then he just switches off. So watching this dynamic work with Zonic, who takes no shit, and then you're going to have s1mple possibly losing his shit. This is either going to be explosive in the best way or explosive in the worst way. And regardless, I am here for it. I cannot wait. I would love to spend the whole episode talking about Falcons and just guessing what the hell's going to happen.
I think we should honestly just have Anton follow them around all weekend with the camera. Just
with
constantly.
The camera.
Just to see what it's like. We don't even need audio. We just need body language. We can do enough of that.
That is what should happen. Well, Mike, you're on the ground. You make that happen. You give us like a s1mple vlog every day. Moving on to another, it's not as big as the Falcons in terms of what the hell is happening, but we did speak about it in the last episode of Challenger, and they're playing again. Saw and that crazy shakeup. Obviously, we recorded it before Coach Berry left. I cannot believe that you would take your coach, who got you onto the playoffs of IEM Cologne, who did incredible things for this organization, and then let him go.
I am
WTF.
So desperate. I'm so desperate to hear the tea from behind the scenes. I was DMing. I was trying to find stuff out. Apparently, no one's talking, which sucks for me specifically, because I'm so curious about what the order of operations was on this. Apparently, here's what I have been able to figure out. Apparently, Arozdos wanted to leave before Atlanta. This is not new news. He's wanted to leave for a little while. He wanted to leave before he was signed to Ulti. So he said, look, my contract's up at the end of the year. I want to explore my options. I want to see what's out there for my career. I'm going to pick up an agent, and that's what I want, right? This is not news to Saw. It was not news to anyone in the team. Like, this was the expectation. Somewhere between that being the expectation, him acquiring representation, and the end of Atlanta, Saw decided that whatever he was doing, whatever influence he was having within the team, whatever he was bringing into the table, bringing into Prac, whatever that was, they didn't want to deal with it. They're going to bench him, get rid of it, bring in Agil, not put themselves in the best position necessarily for the RMR, but they felt like it was time to rip off the Band-Aid. So, interesting situation. They know they're losing him at the end of the year, or they expect to be losing him at the end of the year. They just say, screw it, rip off the Band-Aid now. I don't know what the hell happened with Barry. That I don't understand. Because, like, even if they only signed him this summer, his first event with them was on trial in Blast Spring. Like, he got signed this summer. If they signed him to, like, a 6-month contract, that's ridiculous. So, presumably, it was a year or more. And I don't know what happened. The only connection I have between them is that they're repped by the same agent. Like, that's the only connective tissue I could see between these same things. So I don't know whether, like, they're negotiating. Here's my crazy theory, is that they just got so annoyed from their negotiations with Arostos that they were like, screw it! No one from this agency ever again! And just, like, fired Barry out of nowhere. And he's like, what the hell? All right, sure, caught in the crossfire. I don't know. All I know is Barry is retweeting Arostos' go live tweets, and they're both benched. And I no one will tell me anything. So I don't know. I don't know, Sam. Have you heard anything?
So I saw some things, and I think that there will, at some point, there'll be a conversation around what happened, but I think it was just a negotiation thing. And I think the problem was is this became old news the moment the Bleed stuff came out, right? Because that was obviously Bleed not playing in Challenger. But what had happened is the SAW drama started and everyone kind of went, what's going on? And then there were these like elusive tweets from the Ulti agency guys. And then I saw some of the SAW players dropping some like little
shit.
Yeah, you know, like that. Those were, and I was like, okay, there's something here. Something's happened. And again, I'm just throwing out my opinion. I think what probably happened, and it's very common, is an agent sat down and said, "Hold on, actually, you probably should take better care of our guys here. Like this is kind of what we're expecting if you want them to stay, or something to that effect." And the org was just like, "Well, go to hell." It could have been that. There's like all sorts of things that could have happened, but unfortunately, all the CS journalists dropped that story like a hot potato the moment Bleed happened, because that was just on a whole other level. And obviously Kassad makes sure that he comes with a bang. I love the fact that I saw the photo shoot of them in their unpaid shirts the other day. Imagine that at ESL Challenger. It would be insane. And so I think that the SAW drama, quote unquote, has kind of just become second to that, which is good for us, because that means that at ESL Challenger, you can get all the scoop for us. You can dig around.
Yeah.
I will send you a Portuguese translator. I want to know what the hell is happening. But also, I want to know if this team
translator.
You don't need a translator.
No, they
won't
tell me
tell
anything.
you.
But they all speak English. I don't know if they'll tell me anything. Probably not. I don't think I'm getting
Probably not, but they didn't play very well in Atlanta. It wasn't the best SAW. And obviously now we know that there was a lot going on behind the scenes, which I think you can normally, that is the explanation for what was happening.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to how it appears now, because this is that conversation we have about Lightning striking twice, that a magical IEM Cologne run. It's make or break for them now. If they come into this and they, excuse my language, but shit the bed, I have no hope for them come the RMRs.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we had this SAW that seemed like the Cinderella story, that seemed like an ascending talent within the team. You had this lightning moment with, you know, Barry combining with very young, talented Portuguese players, and Arostos, Jackson Story, and the old veterans in Mutiris and Roman, who are seeing a renaissance in their own play. You're seeing this big moment, and like, I mean, sometimes we have those big moments. You have that one big result, and then it's like, okay, I want more, and you start demanding, and maybe things fall apart, or maybe egos butt heads. I don't know. It's so tough to read from the outset. I just don't. My expectations for this team have plummeted, right? As I think they have for everybody else. And I think you're absolutely right. If they show something here, if they beat a group that has Eternal Fire and Falcons in it, if they make it out of that group, great. We can be back to being like, okay, maybe there's more to SAW than just, you know, whatever the Barry effect was, than whatever Arostos was bringing. Maybe there's something more here. What? That's a tough road to have to do it.
We're still focused on Group A because this is my favorite group. And obviously,
we haven't even talked about Eternal Fire yet.
I was about to bring them up. I was like, to me, if we're going to make a prediction, Eternal Fire in the finals, that has to happen for them. Obviously, they had that really good run in Pro League. It was really fun. They've had a few good runs leading up to that. They've constantly defied expectations. Rio, not so great, but I like this team. I like what I'm seeing. And I think while this is a decent lineup of competition, I think Eternal Fire has the chops to beat pretty much all of these teams, and I expect them to do that.
Yeah, they should. I mean, as we know, it's a brutal format, especially on the first day of BO1s, right? But Eternal Fire is damn good right now. I mean, they were in the finals of ESL Pro League, and this being a studio event is going to be like a mini Pro League in terms of vibe. Yeah, I think Eternal Fire should absolutely crush the competition here. Frankly, I think their biggest challenge is going to come from Group B, and then the mythical "what is Falcons right now" question. I've just been so disappointed by Falcons so often that I don't want to tab them as kingmakers. But like, I mean, if simple, maybe. But yeah, I think Eternal Fire is looking really good right now. They're playing some of their best Counter-Strike. They've been consistent throughout this year. I mean, well, okay, they've been consistent in pattern. They haven't necessarily been consistent in result. It's kind of like up, down a little bit. But this should be enough, I think. And I hope they take that energy into the major, because it's an exciting time for Turkish Counter-Strike. So yeah, I don't know. I think Eternal Fire should be the one seed out of this group, and I think you're absolutely right. Final is the barest expectation for them. They should be lifting this trophy.
Just hear me out. Imagine, because I feel like if s1mple's ego is as big as everyone says it is, he has been, I'm going right back to this conversation because this is how excited I am about s1mple. If his ego is as big as everyone says it is, I'm hoping that he has been grinding the hell out of this game behind the scenes. Can you imagine if they hit this stage and it is, I mean, I don't think it'll ever be prime s1mple, but it's something close to that. And it's just, imagine what happens as we move into the Shanghai major, if that is the case. And holy hell, like, and that's what we've got. And Eternal Fire will have to be the victims of that scenario. But that is a very possible dream that could come true.
Yeah.
Or the grenade goes off and everything I'm saying means nothing. But that is pretty much what Group A looks like. And then you throw in Bait, the Ukrainian team, obviously the organization originally founded by a very famous Dota player. There are a lot of young players. I know I didn't know how to say the org's name, but I mean, I know some of the players that are in the mix here. Is this a team that could be a little bit out of their league, Mike? What do you think?
I mean, I think the expectation for them in this group is third or fourth, right? But Bait is like the upset of all upset teams in terms of online play. Captain Kirka and the boys, they'll be coming in with some plans. They'll be coming in with some anti-strats. They'll have done their homework on everybody. You know, Headtrick's been looking better in this team. NPL's been looking better in this team. Like, they're not easy. They're not going to be an easy team. I don't think they're going to get blown out of the water. Sometimes we see, you know, these 6th or 7th seeds coming into these events and just getting absolutely dunked on by the competition. But I don't think there's any gimmies in this one. I really don't. We don't have a rooster. There are no gimmies. There are no easy matches. So, like, I think, for example, the Falcons, where they've been all over the map with performance, they could get caught off guard by a Bait, because they could be looking towards Eternal Fire. They could be looking towards Saw, saying these are big competitors, overlook Bait and get upset in a BO1. And then, oh boy, you got to go through the lowers, and life is difficult. So, I don't know. Could be interesting.
Into Group B. Before we talk about like South American Counter-Strike, which is something I do want to talk about, I do have a random question for you. Does Demkup speak Polish from Monty? Because he's the only one left, if I'm not mistaken, that isn't Polish in that team.
Yeah, I don't actually know. I'll have to ask him about it. I mean, they are neighbors, Ukraine and Poland. There are a lot of folks from Ukraine living in Poland right now, refugees from the war, obviously. So I think there is a huge Ukrainian population in Poland right now. And I'd imagine there's certainly been opportunities to pick up Polish. But I really don't know. He's also been teammates with Krasnal for forever, so maybe they've been doing Polish lessons after practice. I don't know, but you're right. He is the only guy right now who's not Polish. So I'll put it this way. If he didn't speak Polish before this roster formed, he's learning it. He's learning it right now. I guarantee that.
It's a curious one to me. The Monte shift and change to the Polish, and now not really knowing what Demka's role is in there. So I'm going to put a giant question mark on Monte for Challenger. I think this is going to be let's see. And then obviously pose the question to you as to why every time we have more than one South American team or North American team, we put them all in the same group. This time we put all three into Group B. How does that work?
I mean, the way it works at Challengers is just teams rank each other, and then based on the seeding there, we get the group polls. So it is kind of hilarious that we have MIBR, Pain, and Legacy all in the same group. You could view that as either unfortunate for the BR fan base or fortunate because we're very likely to have 2 Brazilian teams into playoffs as a result of that. Which also means we could have an all-Brazilian final, right? You'll have one on either side of the bracket. It could be an all-Brazilian Challenger run. And frankly, I think, outside of Eternal Fire, I think the strongest members of this group are here. Or of this event are here. I think MIBR and Pain are both in the strongest form. I think Legacy's done some great things in North America. I need to see it at an international event, but I know there's talent on these guys. I just need to see what it looks like when it travels. But I think if you're looking at MIBR and Pain, I think what Pain did this summer at Cologne was super impressive. I think I rate Biguzera just massively highly in his ability to get a team to perform, especially as we head into majors. So I know they've been on the grind set, I'm sure. I think MIBR has been in the same boat. They've been looking renewed. I mean, they just made this change, bringing in Lucauzi. So there is some question there about what that's going to look like with Breno out. Theoretically, Lucauzi should be a firepower upgrade. Apparently, the Org's been trying to get him for like 2 years, and they finally found a way to do it. He's supposed to be another one of these prodigies, so theoretically, this should look really good. But as we've seen, theory only works so well. You should ask Falcons about that one. It all is about practice. But I don't know. I'm really excited about MIBR and Pain, and then Legacy if they could do anything here too. So yeah, I mean, it I don't know if it sucks or it's a good thing for the BR fan base that they're guaranteed at least one team in playoffs. Guaranteed.
I think it's good for all 3 teams because, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, they've all qualified for the Americas RMRs. So all 3 of these teams are already prepping for their major run. So this is really good for them because it is a studio LAN. They're not going to have a live crowd, but it is sort of that final step because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Americas RMRs are like 2 weeks after this event. So this is really your like final opportunity to really go, okay, cool, this is what we need to work on. This is maybe where our faults lie. And it's also a chance for us to see what we're getting stepping into it. If you've prepped properly, this is kind of where you're going to peak. So I'm excited for that. And also, like you said, outside of Eternal Fire, for me, MIBR and Pain are 2 of the strongest teams. And I personally think that they could do some quote unquote upsets to Falcons, who should by rights be the favorites coming into this. But I mean, as we know, Falcons are desperately disappointing most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the rankings, they're the favorites. MIBR and Pain 14 and 15 on the HLTV rankings. Falcons 19. Right, Falcons have not done a lot of winning this year. It's just Falcons. It's 100% the X factor. Our chemical X in that is simple. Like, what is simple? Is simple phoned out, checked out simple? Then they're going to get demolished. Is simple, I'm going to prove to the world that I'm the best. Who's this donk kid? Then we're going to have one hell of a Falcon potentially over there. And he might also, like, eat Snappy in the process. Just unhinge his jaw and consume him wholly. I mean, who knows, right? So Falcons is just, like, this big old question mark. But I do know what I expect out of Pain and MIBR. And I expect good things, right? I think MIBR's had some disappointing results this year, which confused me. They've also had some really good results, which was more in line with what I was expecting, right? Like, I expected them to be towards the tops of Brazil at the beginning of the year, and they've kind of been that second rung. But I think that was sort of a blip, and I'm hoping that they will continue to get back towards the top. And especially since the swap to Drop as an IGL, it's looked really good both for him and for Exit. Like, Exit is looking renewed, and Drop is doing a very good job of calling some interesting game plans. So I think that's very cool. Knack as well into the primary coaching, with Bit sort of being the backup. It's interesting. It's very interesting, and I think this MIBR team can do some damage. And then Pain, it's all just about the development of the youngsters, right? We expect great things for Biguzera. They've got it's Biguzera and like the elementary school bus, and he's the bus driver. And there's a lot of talent on the bus, and I'm excited to see how far they've gone.
Okay, so it's time to make predictions. We normally get these horribly wrong. I've realized I think we've done 2 challenge series for 2 different events, and we've got our finals somewhat incorrect most times. So I'm just going to go 3 for 3 and probably get this wrong. I'm calling it in the finals. I think it's going to be Eternal Fire and Pain. I don't want to call a winner, but that's kind of, for me, would be the dream.
I like it. I think that'd be a banger, but also call a winner, coward.
I'm taking off to Cadian. I don't have balls,
gotta
so
do
that's
it.
my excuse.
All right, there you go. Yeah, you don't have to
Wait,
put
I
them on
mean,
the desk.
I'll call it. I'll call it. I think it will be Eternal Fire. To be honest, I think they have to lift a trophy for their own confidence. It can't be
Yeah.
that easy. Like to constantly be kind of there, kind of there, kind of there. We've seen them. I think it was last year at DreamHack Winter where they made it to the finals with Monte and then lost. Like I think that they've kind of been knocking around for a little bit after that loss to Navi. They're going to be feeling it. They have that. It has to be them, right? But that is the safe. I'm literally going for the safe prediction here.
I think well, the safe prediction would be MIBR, right? By definition. He's on that team. But I think I'm gonna echo you. I think it is gonna be Eternal Fire in the finals. I'm gonna go with MIBR, not so much because I don't believe in pain, but because I think it's more interesting if we have different predictions.
Fair point.
And to be honest, I do think Eternal Fire is gonna lift the trophy as well. What I do hope, here's my prediction that I'm excited that I hope happens. And I hope happens. I don't even know if I expect it to happen. I hope it happens. I don't know if Falcons is gonna be ready to lift the trophy here. I think that what I want to see is I want to see Falcons make playoffs, and I want to see by the end of the weekend, s1mple just look like he's shaking the rust off, right? Because I do expect there to be some rust coming in. There's a difference between playing Team CS and queuing a million pugs while you're enjoying yourself in your bedroom. There's a difference, and I do think that this is a great place to shake off that rust. I think they've talked about. I think in one of his introductory tweets, he was like, "I'm really glad that we're going to have these LANs in the run up to the RMR." To get ready for it. And I think that's definitely how they're going to be approaching it. So that's my optimistic prediction. It's just that by the end of the week, we see the old s1mple flashing at the very least. And that's what I hope.
Damn, I hope so too. I also love, I watched Richard Lewis did a video recently where he said like there's too much like obsession with the drama in Counter-Strike, right? Like people are always like, oh, drama. But I love that we're sending you to Challenger Katowice being like, find out what's going on with the Falcons. Find out what's going on with Saw. He has all this behind the scenes drama. We want to know the scoop. And I'm like, oh no, I am the person Richard Lewis was talking about. That is me. I am her.
But also, Richard's the person that Richard is talking about. Come on, Richard. Be a little self-aware.
Right. It's true. It's true.
The podcast, no one's watching a podcast that's just like statistically, this one team should win X percentage of matches against this other team. No acknowledgement of personality or outside factors. No one wants that.
No
it's
one
an entertainment industry, damn it. We want drama. We want tea.
Want the drama.
Spill the tea. Sip the tea.
I hope that Mike can get all the tea. He's going to be hanging out in the hotel with them. And obviously, we will return after the event, which you can watch.
I don't know if they're going to be drinking tea. That's all I'll say. It's Poland.
No. It's Poland. There won't be any tea being drunk, but hopefully we'll find out when they spill the tea, drinking something else. Mike will be able to fill us in. As per usual, you know how Challenged works. At the end of ESL Challenger Katowice, we're going to come back and we are going to recap the entire event. So let us know in the comments what you think of our predictions, what your predictions are, and then we'll all return and see if we got them wrong or right. Maybe third time's a charm, Mike.
Maybe it is. I doubt it, but I'm excited to be wrong, as always.